guys, welcome back to Zipcode, and if you're new to the channel, we welcome you. So in today's video, we're having something exciting to share with you. So we'll be diving in deep into the world of Spring Actuator and how it can supercharge your Spring projects or your Spring applications. So if you're a Java developer or someone interested in the Spring framework, this video is a must watch for you. Let's get started. So what we see here is basically the Spring initializer, and with this, if you are following through with the channel, you would know that the last video was an SQS messaging project where we're integrating with AWS SQS queue, pushing messages to the queue, and consuming messages from the queue. So we also dequeuing messages after reading them or consuming them from the queue, and that was we built like RESTful APIs in our last Spring project. So I recommend going to watch that and see how to interact with queues in AWS. So without wasting any of your time, first things first is the initializer does have an actuator dependency. So if you want to add actuator, we just come here and say add, and that's a Spring Actuator. And we can see that it supports built-in or custom endpoints that let you monitor, manage applications such as application health, metrics, sessions, etc., etc. So basically, you can add Spring Boot Actuator as simple as that directly from the initializer. So without going straight into the code, let's start by defining what a Spring Actuator is and what it does. So Spring Actuator is a powerful module. So basically, in the Spring framework, it provides essential production-ready features to your applications. It offers insights into the application's internal and helps with monitoring, health checks, metrics, and even allows you to manage your application on the fly. So this all sounds amazing, and I think by now you're anxious to see how that happens. So we want to go into the docs of Spring Actuator, or Spring docs for Actuator, and what it is based on that. So basically, as defined earlier on, it is a production ready feature, and it helps you monitor and manage your application in production. You can also have this in other environments as well. It's a very helpful tool across your environments to quickly check the status of your APIs or your microservice application. So it is very helpful in that sense. So to enable it, it's nothing difficult. You essentially just add a dependency, which is the Spring Boot Starter Actuator, as simple as that. So based on either you are using Maven, which you will be adding that dependency in your POM file, or if you're using Gradle, then you'll add that Spring Actuator implementation like that. So let's see how they define an actuator there. They say an actuator is a manufacturing term that refers to a mechanical device for moving or controlling something. Actuators can generate a large amount of motion from a small change. So that's how they define it, and I hope the earlier definition is much more simpler and straight to the point as to how Spring can help you manage your application, diagnose, check metrics, check the status, and all of those nitty-gritty essentials when it comes to the status of your APIs or microservices application. So let's see some of the offered endpoints here before we jump right into the code. Let's just discuss a few of these. If you can look here, we have audit events, we have beans, we have catches, we have conditions. So please note, as I've mentioned this before, the link will be in the description down below, so you can click on it and go through all of these and what they do. But they're fairly quick descriptions, but once you plug in Spring Actuator, you'll see what all of these do. And of course, some of them, they require more config, like let's say the flyway the flyway is a database migration management endpoint, which essentially requires one or more flyway bean to be implemented already, and the other one will be the liquid base. So liquid base also shows any liquid base database migrations that have been applied, and it requires one or more liquid base beans to be implemented in your code. So there is some legwork that you would need to do for some of these endpoints so that you can see a much more detailed response and what's happening with you or the status of your application. And then the other ones, generic ones, is basically your beans that you will have, the health of the status. So you show the application health, the info, um, the loggers, the matrix. So matrix will be the CPU sessions and similar things to the not just the application but also the performance or requirements for that for your application or let's say server machine in that sense. So let's see, and the CPU will be much more related to the JVM and stuff. So that is what metrics will have, but we'll see this as we go on as well. So sessions allows the retrieval and deletion of user sessions from the Spring session backed session store. So that's basically one of the endpoints there. Then you have a shutdown, you have a startup, then you have a thread dump, which performs a thread dump for you. So these are just some of the endpoints that are available, and you can use them. So without actually going further in this theory part, let's just go into code and see how we can get this up and running on our side. So with the last project, we basically have Maven as our dependency management. So we would need to plug in the Maven dependency right at the end of our dependency. So that's where we'll need to plug that in. Let's just check that ASAP here. Let's just take it at the top here. So this is the dependency that we need to add right here. So we save that. So now we have Spring Actuator. Only thing left is for us to enable it, and that's it. So we have the dependency. Now we need to enable it. So just to add, we'll just add these three configs here. So in our applications.properties, so as you can see, I do have a number of properties already here. These are the AWS properties from our last video. So the other one that I will add is just the actuator stuff. So let me just add a comment here and say actuator configurations. So also, if the application is so big and you want to separate all of the properties, you can have a actuator dot properties or an actuator properties YAML file, or just an actuator dot properties. That will still be fine. And then you need to define that in your application configurations, where it will be picked up as a property resource or class path, and then all of these configurations for actuator will be available. So having said all of that, now we have Spring Actuator. How do we use it? So first, the most basic thing now is just for us to start up our application and go to the actuator endpoint and see this in action. So as you can see, I just added a few configurations, but if you come back to the docs, you will see that there are a number of configurations here. Management endpoint shutdown, enable true. So once we enable that, we can run the shutdown endpoint. Endpoints enabled by default is equal to false. Endpoint info enabled true. So all of these you can add according to your preference. So for now, we just have the health endpoints that we've exposed there, so that's not a problem. And as you can see here, you can include and you can exclude endpoints that you don't want exposed on your actuator as well. So there's a much more detailed explanation there. So let's see application. All right, so it's up and running. Everything is looking good. Now let's just go to localhost 8080 and see what we get back there. Localhost 8080, that obviously will bomb. Let's just do actuator. Let's just do actuator health. Let's see. So now the status is up and group is custom. So basically from the health endpoint, that is what we get, and that seems to be fine. So the other one is info. Let's check info. It's nothing much at this point, and we have we can, as you can see here, we can also just add that one right there, and it will still be just as empty because there's nothing really to. Let's just save that, and because I do have Spring DevTools, it will just refresh or restart itself. The application just restart itself, and then I can come back here and just run that, and there's nothing there. So there's nothing on this endpoint. And the other one that you can check is matrix. Let's see the matrix here. So there's a number of matrix that we have, and let's see if we can just pull one. Let's say process start time. Let's check that. We just want to add it here as an endpoint. Boom, now we have process start time, description, start time of the process since Unix epoch, base unit is seconds, measurements, static value, then the value is that, so that's the epoch time, and of which that is fine. So the other thing we wanted to check is Tomcat sessions are created, as I was mentioning the sessions part on these endpoints. So if Tomcat sessions created, so description is null, sessions, measurements count 0, so no sessions as yet. Let's see what else. System CPU count, and we can just check this final metric here, and you can basically see that number of processors available to the JVM machine, and that's what we have. So essentially we are able to now see everything about our application just from the actuator, and can tell us what's happening there. Of course, you can have custom configurations or custom endpoints to diagnose further your application or your REST API or microservice application. So basically, that's it about the Spring Actuator. You've seen it in action, and we've explained what it is. So the next part is how we can use a front end to actually deliver these matrix, these health diagnostics, and see the health of our system and our APIs on an easier interface that we can easily see and interact with, which is good for the user, much more meaningful, and much more detailed. So we'll just use all of these APIs. So essentially, you can also integrate these APIs with third-party applications and all of that, because they are available as APIs in your application. So essentially, that's it for the video. Don't want to keep it long, want to keep it simple and short, make it sweet, and I hope you like and you subscribe. Until the next one, enjoy.